On the bulletin tonight, messages of selflessness and sacrifice echoes as Christians commemorate crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
In any work that we do, we should bear in mind that there is a great sacrifice that the nation expects us to pay for it, and that is a lesson we should learn for this sacrifice.
Safe and stable banking system. Central Bank of Nigeria raises capital requirements for commercial banks. Plus, Muslim faithful offer prayers for President Tinubu to mark 72nd birthday.
For the serenity of mind, for the wisdom for Mr. President to shepherd the ship of the state and catapult the nation to greater heights.
Good evening. This is the Network News at 9 on NTA, and we are reaching you live from Abuja. I am Lami Ali. We will be joining Adeola later in Lagos, and Benny has an update on bank consolidation and other news on the business bit. But also remember that you can also watch this news live on our social media platforms displayed on the screen. We begin with the President's birthday. With his message on Easter, President Bola Tinubu joins the Christian faithful to commemorate Easter, a significant moment and a glorious celebration of the triumph of life over death. The President warmly greets Christians in Nigeria and around the world on this occasion, emphasizing love, sacrifice, and compassion as the pattern themes of the solemn season. President Tinubu notes that the sacrifice of Jesus Christ for humanity is an emphatic lesson for leaders and all Nigerians to yield to selflessness and compassion and be steadfast in the pursuit of a united, peaceful, and prosperous nation. The President strongly commends Nigerians for the sacrifices they have made in the past few months for the nation to be set to the path of recovery and sustainable growth, assuring them that the seeds of patience which they have sown are beginning to sprout and will in no time bring forth an abundance of good fruits as Christians celebrate the victory of life over death as exemplified by the resurrection of Christ. President Tinubu assures all citizens that Nigeria will triumph over challenges as his administration remains firmly committed to this end. Now, Nigerians have been reminded of the importance of making sacrifices for one another and the nation, just as Jesus Christ did for the salvation of mankind. This formed the central message of clerics in Abuja as Christians commemorate Good Friday. Ekene Ndulwe reports.
Most Christians across the world commemorate the Good Friday with church services to reflect on the death of Jesus Christ on the cross of Calvary, believed to save mankind from sin and condemnation. At Holy Rosary Catholic Church, Zone 2, Abuja, dramatization of the Passion of Christ tells the story of his humiliation, crucifixion, and death, reminding the congregation the essence of the Passion.
When we are unjustly condemned, we can always stand firm and say, if it happened to Jesus, it can happen to me, but that's not the end of everything.
Jesus nailed our sin and wiped away our iniquity, and then suffered on the cross, and also went through this so that you and I will be saved.
At the Church of Epiphany, Gariki, Abuja, it was a celebration of love and sacrifice.
In any work that we do, we should bear in mind that there is a great sacrifice that the nation expects us to pay for it, and that is a lesson we should learn for this sacrifice.
At the Methodist Cathedral of Unity, Abuja, the Archbishop urged Christians to imbibe the spirit of love and forgiveness as exemplified by Jesus Christ.
What brought Christ to the cross is love. So we should also demonstrate love in our homes, in our community, to one another. And when we demonstrate love, our nation will be a thing of pride.
The clergies are advising Nigerians to apply the lessons of sacrifice to ensure a better Nigeria. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulwe, NTA News.
Now, Good Friday is characterized with prayers, Stations of the Cross, and messages of hope and sacrifice. But beyond, this is the aspect of restriction, especially for some Christians who do not eat meat on Good Friday.
I'm not a Catholic, okay, but I'm fully aware that they don't eat meat. So, but that's their faith.
Christ shared his life on the cross today, and by such, so we as Catholics, we are expected to abstain from meat.
Given the nutrition value of meat highly consumed globally, one may ask if the non-consumption of meat on Good Friday has any spiritual connotation, or is it just a myth?
People are so crazy about meat, and then if you don't eat that flesh, it also means that you try to remember what Jesus went through, how the flesh of Jesus was tortured. And if the flesh of Jesus would torture and bleed with blood, on a day like this, you can say, okay, I will not go near anything that has to do with flesh.
In the studio to discuss more about the significance of Good Friday is Reverend Dr. Jonas Samson. He is the senior pastor at Ekwa Church, Maitama, and the chairman of the North Central Zone of the Christian Association of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on the news.
Thank you, viewer. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
All right. On a night like this, thousands of years ago, it is believed that Jesus Christ paid the supreme sacrifice for mankind. In terms of sacrifice and the magnitude, now how far should we as human beings go to build better societies?
Well, the gospel truth is that when we talk about Easter, it's a season that we reflect to see what Jesus has accomplished over 2,000 years ago. Reflecting back to what happened in Genesis chapter 3, gives us account about the fall of man in the Garden of Eden. But God decided to intervene to save man from sin. And he gave his son. And Jesus came and accomplished his mission here on earth. Having accomplished his mission here on earth, finally he died on the cross of Calvary that we might be saved. So Good Friday is a time for us to reflect to see what Jesus has accomplished on the cross of Calvary. We see divinity coming into humanity, a turning point in human history, where Jesus laid down his life for our salvation. And that is the message we are proclaiming to people all over. In as much as we celebrate Easter, we should know that it is for love that Jesus came. Also, he laid down his life and sacrificed himself for us to be alive today. So there's a lot of message for us if we want Nigeria to be better, is to emulate the teaching of Jesus and the way of life that Jesus lived. If we do that, it will be well with us in our families. If we do that, it will be well with us in our community. Not only professing Christianity with our mouth, but exemplifying it. You know, when we talk about love, I've heard people talking about love, but not just superficial kind of love, but love in action, agape kind of love. We talk about forgiveness. This is what we need to do. If we do that, it will strengthen the bond of unity within the family, the society, and in our community. And with that, it will go a long way to help us. So let's not forget the significance of this season. It is very, very important if we want to ensure that it is well with us as a nation. This we must take to heart.
It's indeed a time for sober reflection, time to remember the sacrifices of Christ and his love for humanity. Now, what or how do Christians consolidate on these lessons of Christ?
Well, the best way we can consolidate on the message of Christ, if you look at it, for instance, let me give an example with John chapter 13, beginning from verse 1 to 17, where Jesus washed his disciples' feet and giving an example of humility, giving an example of love, and he told them that, look, you call me teacher, master, and Lord. Now that I, your teacher, your Lord and master, have washed your feet, you also should do likewise. Now, to replicate this, it boils down to our action, how we treat each other. Humility should be seen in us. I can't call myself, I'm a child of God celebrating Easter, but I'm so proud. Very, very wrong. And in doing that also, we must ensure that we adjust the way we treat each other. being truthful, being sincere to ourselves. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth and the life. John 8:32, the Bible tells us, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set us free. Besides that, it is telling us that look, you will know Jesus, but knowing him also is not just in time of verbal profession, but in time of your lifestyle, the way you live matters a lot.
Now, Easter ends the month of Lent for the Christian brothers, and by next month, that's in a couple of days, the Eid al-Fitr will be celebrated by Muslims to end the Ramadan fast. It is more than a coincidence, I must say. Now, what are people saying about this for us as a people here in Nigeria?
When you look at it, what a coincidence. The Muslims are into fasting this Ramadan period and talking about iftar, which has to do with kindness, relating well with people, even giving alms. Same thing also, Christians were so involved in prayer and fasting during this season. So we cannot be doing this, Christians praying and fasting, and then Muslims also praying and fasting, and then we are not in harmony with each other. Which God are we serving? Now, to me, just like we know, eventually this will culminate into Christ's resurrection, showing us victory that we have over death. But similarly also, we should be able to know that the reason why we are celebrating Easter is to be able to show the love of Christ to our brothers, to our colleagues, either a Christian faith or Muslims, wherever you find yourself, ensure that we are all one, born of God. We are all flesh and blood, and it is expected that we treat each other with kindness, no matter our religion and no matter wherever we find ourselves. So to me, the message to us, both the Christians and to Muslims at this season, is to ensure that the love we talk about, love for God, should be seen. We should practice it in reality, not just with words.
Thank you very much for sharing those remarkable insights on Easter.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
Thank you. That was Pastor or Reverend Dr. Jonas Sampson, a senior pastor with Equa Church Maitama and the chairman of the North Central Zone of the Christian Association of Nigeria, speaking on the Easter celebration. Now, the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission, Bishop Stephen Adigbite, has enjoined Christians to emulate the virtues of Jesus Christ. In his Easter message, Bishop Adigbite stressed that if Christians at all levels could emulate the virtues of Jesus Christ, Nigeria and the world will be better for it. He urges Christians to continue to pray for the success of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration, stating that nothing good comes easy and thus Nigeria is not the only country experiencing economic hardship, as it is a global phenomenon. Now, President Bola Tinubu today attended the Jumat service at the National Mosque, Abuja, which later turned out to be a special Thanksgiving prayer for his 72nd birthday. State House correspondent Musbaud Al-Muhab reports.
Happy birthday again.
He had opted for a low-key birthday anniversary with clear advisory to his lovers and supporters. But which other favors of his Lord will he deny? The birthday boy chose the National Mosque to show gratitude to his Creator, apparently for the gifts of life and the opportunity to touch lives. With this anniversary on a Jummah, it is indeed a Good Friday. The sermon of a chief imam, translated, coincidentally preached support to the leaders as part of the recommended good deeds in the months of Ramadan. On behalf of his principal, Vice President Kashim Shettima thanked God for his benevolence to the presidents.
For the good health, for the serenity of mind, for the wisdom for Mr. President to shepherd the ship of the state and catapult the nation to greater heights. Let's keep him in our prayers. Let's pray for his good health, for his commitment towards repositioning the Nigerian nation.
Allahumma hafaz Ra'isana Bola Ahmad Tinubu.
Selected imams of the National Mosque offered special prayers for the president on his special day and for God's continuous mercy on the country. In Abuja, Musbah Wahab, NTA News.
Here's wishing Mr. President a happy birthday. Now, former President Muhammadu Buhari Friday followed up his public statements with a phone call to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in which he personally passed on his best wishes for a happy 72nd birthday to the president. In the course of the conversation, the former president said he was fully committed to the success of the APC administration under President Tinubu. President Buhari prayed for Tinubu's success, saying that praying for a leader is imperative as his success and well-being are for the nation, adding that the accomplishments of the new administration must be seen as national achievements. Time now for a quick... Thank you for staying tuned. King Apollos II Onencha X is supporting the United Nations Women Initiative of Community Dialogue on Women Empowerment and increased investments in women farmers. The financial support is for 250 women from Nchia, Eleme in Rivers State. Ijoma Ugoke has the details.
The initiative organized to mark the International Women's Day, which is celebrated annually in March, has representatives of the United Nations, United Kingdom Women, Minister of Women Affairs Uju Kennedy Ohanenye, National Council for Women Societies, Mariam Babangida Center for Women Development, women journalists, NDLEA, and NTA Port Harcourt Network Center Zona Director, Dr. Evelyn Woso. In attendance, arrival of Onencha X, King Apollos II, to the venue set the tone for the event. As a trustee of the Nigerian Council for Women Societies, King Chu commended the United Nations representatives and NCWS for taking the enlightenment to the women in the grassroots. This he described as a noble initiative that will foster inclusiveness and development at the grassroots. He says this is the reason he supports the initiative with the empowerment of 250 Nchia Eleme women in farming.
If individuals are developed, they will go out of crime, they will go out of misbehavior, and if they are working hard, they are also going to be bringing peace. They will having what to eat. Let's give them this money that they should hire farm for themselves, because they're part of the Mr. President agenda of food security. We can hear that they say hardship of food and all purposes. So what do? President cannot do everything, the government cannot do everything, the governor cannot do everything. We, in our angle, we must do something to support the plan, the projects, the agendas of the federal government, Mr. President.
The celebration has a theme, dialogue in investing in women to accelerate progress and ending gender-based violence, and centers on investing in the advancement of women in Nigeria to harness their potentials and create a more resilient society.
We've been pushing, we keep pushing to make sure that our women are empowered.
Goodwill messages came from other key players who appreciated the development going on in Eleme and advised the 250 women that were empowered to invest their money in their farming businesses.
This is Network News on the NTA. Benny brings us latest news from the world of business. So over to you, Benny.
Thank you, Lami. And now talking business. A firm handshake between the public and private sectors is a panacea for efficient service delivery of goods and services from the ports to the marketplace. This is the view of stakeholders.
We want to simplify the process. We want to make our process more efficient. We want to make it more responsive to the needs of port users and those that are involved in international trade. So this is what trade facilitation is all about, and this is why we are glad to be part of these new efforts to give a new life to the National Trade Facilitation Committee. This is a statutory provision as part of the commitment that Nigeria has entered to under the National Trade Facilitation Agreement, as part of what we do to implement the Trade Facilitation Agreement.
For us, we are all pursuing the same idea, but what is important is the government needs to take active steps because people are suffering. Businesses are actually endangered, and that's why we appeal that the government should take most immediate and proactive steps to ensure that the policy is in line to ensure that business can be optimized in Nigeria.
And now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the capital requirements for commercial, merchant and non-interest banks in Nigeria to maintain a safe, sound and stable banking system. Director of Financial Policy and Regulations Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Haruna Mustafa, indicates that commercial banks with international authorization are to meet the minimum requirement of 500 and 200 billion naira for national banks, 50 billion for regional and merchant banks, while 20 and 10 billion were set for non-interest banks at national and regional levels. The Apex Bank says all banks are required to meet the minimum capital requirement within 24 months, starting from April 1st, 2024 to 31st March 2026. The move is set to be in line with Section 9 of the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act, that is BOFIA 2020. And now with me in the studio is a financial and economic analyst. He is Dr. Chijoke Ikechukwu. Dr. Chijoke, you're welcome to Network News at 9 at this time.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Good. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has announced new guidelines on its recapitalization policy for banks in the country, of which commercial banks with international authorization are to increase their capital base to 500 billion naira and national banks to 200 billion. Many say it's a good call, but do we have such capacity?
Indeed, it's a good call, and we're overdue for it. Recall that the last time this happened was about 2004 to 2005, and that's a long time. And if you look at what the exchange rate was at that time, you know that we are overdue for this increase. It will shock you to know that in Africa, we are the largest economy in Africa, so to say. But in Africa, there is no single Nigerian bank that comes first to 10 in terms of size and whether in asset size or capital base size. You know, so why would we be the biggest economy, yet we don't even have a single bank that ranks first to 10? That would tell you that we are due for it. And it will also shock you to know that the asset size of one bank called the Standard Bank Group of South Africa, the asset size of that bank at about 170 billion is bigger than all the asset size, the asset size of all banks in Nigeria put together at 140 billion. So you can see that one bank in South Africa is bigger than all the banks in Nigeria. What that tells you is that with the exchange rate that we're having today, we really indeed need to increase this capitalization to give the banks in Nigeria some traction and impetus to do a little more business, because right now you could see that many of them are struggling with the exchange rate regime of today.
Okay, just like you've just asserted, key players in Nigeria's financial sector all agree on the need to increase the bank capitalization for better consolidation, but the need to prevent the influx of illicit financing into the sector is actually a concern that is being expressed at this particular point in time. What is your take?
I don't think it should be a concern, because I can tell you this should actually increase the capacity of our economy. Imagine that foreign direct investment comes from outside the country into the banking sector, and they all come with foreign currency to acquire stake and equity in these banks. I can tell you that is going to bring some liquidity into the system, especially liquidity in the foreign currency. So this is a welcome development, and we expect that when this happens, banks are going to have more capacity to expand their IT capabilities and even have more expansion of business to do more for the economy. Many people are going to be accessing better loans with longer tenor and probably lower interest rates. So this is a very welcome development. We have the capacity. I can also tell you that even as it's looking big in terms of financial size, internationally with our exchange rate is still one of the least capitalized. For example, in tier 1 capital of the same Standard Bank of South Africa stands at about $14 billion. Now for us, even if we take the 500 billion that is going to be given to international banks as a capital requirement, if you convert it to foreign currency to dollar, it's just going to give us about $417 million. So you see, $417 million is a far cry from $14 billion that is the core tier 1 capital of the biggest bank in Africa. So we're still talking about Africa. We haven't even gone outside of Africa. So what this tells you is that we still have very low capacity, even with the enhanced capitalization. That's just the fact about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chijoke Ikechukwu, for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time. Like it has been said, if you are not yet doing business in Nigeria, you are not yet in Africa. Yeah. So we welcome investors at this particular point in time.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure, Benny.
Now, the Voice of Nigeria, VON, and the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, are upscaling collaboration to create positive narratives about reliability and stability of the nation's capital market in order to attract more foreign investment to the country's economy. This came to the fore when the Director General VON, Jibrin Baba Ndache, paid a courtesy visit on the Director General of SEC, Lamido Yuguda, at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. Chukunonso Nwabueze has the details.
The visit, which was like a homecoming for the DG Voice of Nigeria, Jibri Babandache, whom as a reporter extensively covered the capital market as well as activities of the Commission, is geared towards reactivating and strengthening the existing collaboration between VON and the Securities and Exchange Commission in the areas of content and awareness creation.
You need to tell your story, keep telling it again, so that even somebody who pretends that he has forgotten, when you remind him or her, you will know that these things are only achieved when you are deliberate about creating your own stories.
The DG Securities and Exchange Commission, Lamido Yuguda, says with the ongoing recovery of the Naira against other currencies, the need for synergy towards attracting more foreign investors as a boost to the country's capital market can be better felt at no time than now.
What can the capital market really do to contribute to this recovery, to this improvement, is really by attracting investments, especially investments now from other countries. And this is where VON is really very significant.
The two public institutions also pledged to partner in the fight against Ponzi operators, fake news and misinformation within the nation's capital markets. Chukunonso Nwabueze, NTA News.
It's now time to join Adiola for more stories from our Lagos Network Center. Adiola, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Benny. As Nigerians reflect on the challenging realities this period, it must drive us to reach a point of building an enduring bridge that will help strengthen the cracks that have affected many areas of the economy. Those were words from the clergy on Good Friday. Diana Jali completes the report.
Good Friday represented suffering. Good Friday represented suffering, endurance, and commitment to the cause, and Nigerians must channel their efforts towards national development and unity. And for Christians, must exhibit the virtues of love, sacrifice, selflessness, and forgiveness, as exemplified by Jesus Christ during his ministry on earth. With national interest on top our agenda, Nigeria will be able to overcome all the contending issues that may have weighed it down, and though be able to attain lofty heights Clergymen at the special service visited charged Nigerians to imbibe the culture of love and promote peace among one another, irrespective of religious differences or ethnicity.
It made us to know that there is paradise and there is hellfire. So we behave well, behave nice, love our neighbors as ourselves, then we reign with Jesus Christ. Recognize him, this the power of discernment, to recognize him, to know that he is our Lord and Savior.
The Lord expressed the fullness of his love to the entire world. And that is just the significance. He loved us by giving himself whole and entire for our joy, for our happiness, for our salvation. And that is what he expects each and every one of us to do.
Good Friday signifies a symbol of hope, turning negative to positive, sorrow of Jesus to joy of the world. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ on cross of Calvary brought about total forgiveness of sin and reconciliation between God and man.
God is not a magician. He's laid his rules. He's died on the cross. He wants you to believe. He wants you to fear him. He wants you to behave appropriately. Then you will pass the exam.
It is hoped that lessons from the period of the Holy Week will continue to reflect in the lives of individuals, even after the Easter celebration. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is advocating single-digit interest rates for micro, small and medium enterprises across the country to increase access to financial support and boost businesses. This was at a forum for women in Lagos tagged Economic Inclusion of Women at the Grassroots and Community Levels. Joy Ken Abakoya reports.
The forum, organized by the Lagos State Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, was initiated to recognize and discuss the indispensable role of women in shaping businesses and unlocking economic prosperity.
My advice to women is that they should never give up. They should never give up. They should still continue doing what they are doing, continue doing their business.
The Lagos State Governor, represented by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, says the state government has initiated several empowerment programs, including those that support women-owned businesses by ensuring access to capital, training, and network necessary for business growth.
So this gathering today is a testament to our collective resolve to break those barriers and pave way for a future where every woman can succeed in their businesses.
Women entrepreneurs at the grassroots in our various communities should always be encouraged to adopt more empathetic, collaborative, and census building styles that are key to our overall national progress.
The benefit is for them to be able to thrive and scale from an economic prosperity standpoint.
The forum is an initiative of the state government and partners to promote women-owned businesses, access to market, and international exposure. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakoya, NTA News.
And we're done from Lagos. It's time to take another break. More news when we return with Lami in Abuja after this time. Please stay with us.
Thanks for being there. Just to let you know that after these news telecasts, we will be joining the Vatican City live for the broadcast of the Pope's Easter message. Do stay with the NTA. And the people of Kurika community have received their children with joy and gratitude to God after spending days in the clutches of bandits. Tears of relief and joy stream down faces of some parents as they meet their children for the first time since receiving the cheering news of their release a few days ago. Amidst the jubilation, reunions and prayers of gratitude to God echoed through the village for the safe return of their children, appreciating the efforts of the security agencies. The Kaduna State government and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu were also the people of the community also thanked the governor and President Bola Tinubu for working hard to ensure their children are back home safely. Operations at the Port Harcourt Aba rail service will hopefully take off in April this year. This is the commitment Minister of Transportation, Senator Ahmed Al-Ali, reiterated after inspecting the Port Harcourt-Aba railway tracks reconstruction. Kingsley Amajiri has the story.
This inspection is the second time the Minister of Transportation is inspecting the reconstruction of Port Harcourt-Aba rail tracks. This points to the federal government's commitment to ensuring that Port Harcourt-Aba rail service is brought back on stream. Though the initial March timeline is no longer feasible owing to technicalities, the minister says the government is resolute to bring succor to the commuting public.
The last time I was here, they said March, but because of some exigencies and technicalities of the work, hopefully we may extend it to April. You know, when somebody has given you a deadline and the deadline didn't really work, of course you have a dismay why he has failed the deadline he has given you ab initio. But if somebody promised you to deliver in March, if for any reason he is able to deliver in April, I think it's fine, you can manage with that.
The government equally noted that it is linking Port Harcourt-Aba rail service to One and Port Harcourt ports to enable freight service from the two ports to Aba. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Pati, has inaugurated 7 technical working groups to engender transparency and accountability in the implementation of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, a federal government project established to provide funding to improve access to primary healthcare and population health outcomes. Ulusia Diagbo reports that this is among decisions taken as the first quarter of the Ministerial Oversight Committee meeting in Abuja.
Statutorily, the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, BHCPF, is to provide funding to improve access to primary health care and designed to guarantee fair and equal access to a fundamental healthcare services for vulnerable population.
We're all united in this aim to ensure that the resources for primary health care get to the front end and to serve the needs of Nigerians consistent with the blueprint that we have developed for the sector.
Really focuses on releasing funds to the states, 25 billion and 25.8. About half of that will go in through the National Primary Healthcare Gateway to the states, and what they will do with it is the inputs that they need to provide services for Nigerians.
And our primary focus in doing this is to ensure that the most vulnerable people, particularly women and children, are covered by the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund.
Ultimately, our goal at state is to ensure that every single individual has access to good quality services. So we're committed to that.
Donor partners and members of the civil society groups are fascinated with the renewed commitment, pledging to support the cause, hoping governments at the subnationals will also play an active role. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
We take another set of messages. The news continues after. Just to remind you that after the news telecast, we shall link up with the Vatican City for the live broadcast of the Pope's Easter message. Do stay tuned. Up next is Sports Update with Gift George.
Africa's soccer ruling body, the Confederation of